Our political panel, two great philosophers in this place, Liberal Senator Hollie Hughes and Labor's Josh Burns. Thank you to both of you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Matt.
Hollie
nice
Hughes,
to see you, Josh.
You have only been in this place as an elected representative for a couple of years now, but you've spent a long time around politics. Do the findings of the Jenkins review surprise you?
Look, what I'm interested in, and I haven't had a chance, obviously 450-page report to fully digest it, and it has been concerning though to see that the reports are 1 in 3 staffers have experienced this. And it's not 1 in 3 staffers, it's 1 in 3 of the 1,750 people that responded to the survey. So we do need to be careful when we talk about that. I think I'd be interested to see timestamps. When did these incidents occur? So I do know that there was a woman who completed it who is no longer in the building, and the incident occurred 12 years ago. And I have been around this building for about 20 years, and I can tell you things have changed significantly over that time.
Is there still a problem now, though, with regards to the treatment of some staff and that culture in the corridors?
Look, I personally haven't experienced it. I've never witnessed it. Clearly, some people may feel that that's the case, and we can always do better. No one is denying that. This is a report that was commissioned bipartisanly. It will be worked through bipartisanly, and we can do better. Things like having access to an independent complaints and HR sort of system will, I think, make it easier, because there's a lot of senators and members who've never managed people or staff before. So it's a learning curve for everybody when they come to this place, and staff often haven't worked in a political office either. So things like that, I think, can make a real difference to how this building functions. But everyone should be supported and safe in their workplace.
Josh Burns, you're in a similar boat in that you are a first-term MP, but again have spent time in this place as a staffer in the past. Do you think there has been a shift in the culture in recent years? Is it improving?
I think we need to take this report really seriously, and Commissioner Jenkins has done a huge amount of work, and I think we need to treat this report with the respect that it deserves. For us in the Labor Party, that means we are going through each and every recommendation. We're going through a process of consulting not only with members of Parliament but also of our staff, and making sure that they have input in how we would implement some of these recommendations and how we would improve it and take on these recommendations. I don't think we should be undermining this report in any way. This is a serious thing, and we should be doing everything that we can to improve the culture in this place.
I mean, if you look at some of the international reporting, the New York Times has picked up on this, saying the lead sentence: men strutting down the corridors, looking women up and down, women carrying fake binders to block unwanted advances, forcible touches, kisses and comments about appearance. How much does this, I guess, reflect on all of the elected representatives at the moment and damage the trust in the community that people up here are doing the right thing?
It is unacceptable, Matt. It is unacceptable that staffers don't feel safe, and if this is going on at all, it is going on too much. And I think that it is incumbent on all of us, despite our political inclinations, to take this report seriously, to take the work that Commissioner Jenkins has done seriously, to look at those recommendations and work out a way to implement them. It's as simple as that.
One of the recommendations in this report that has been discussed at length is the issue of putting in place or considering restrictions on the use of alcohol, the availability of alcohol in the building. Is Parliament House currently out of step with the broader Australian workplace culture when it comes to people drinking on the job or having access to that?
This is a very unique workplace, as we know, when Parliament's sitting. Pre-COVID days, there used to be quite a few functions that would occur in the building so that parliamentarians could attend and meet with different industry groups and organisations that wanted to be at events and host events in this building. So it is a different workplace than anywhere else, certainly different from anywhere else I've ever worked in a corporate sense. But I guess some of I'm going to quote Joel Fitzgibbon. He actually made a comment that there's a very widely publicised case at the moment, and the alcohol was consumed outside of the building before returning to the building. So we need to be, mindful here that there are adults that can have agency of themselves, and so I'm certainly not one of those people who's calling for a total ban of alcohol or a dry Parliament House.
Because I guess some of the high-profile examples that are in this report are talking about consumption of alcohol in private offices as well. Aside from the functions that are here during the week, is that the problem?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think there's anything wrong with colleagues getting together, at the end of a long day and having a glass of wine together. In fact, it a lot of times builds that team and collegiality between not only members of your own side, but quite often we get together with people from the other side and
Do you agree with that,
catch
Josh?
up.
Again, I would say that we need to take all of these recommendations seriously, and obviously people need to be held accountable for their own behaviour, and I think that it is incumbent on us as parliamentarians to act responsibly at all times. But if Commissioner Jenkins thinks that it is appropriate to look at the consumption of alcohol and the way in which it's consumed in this building, then I think we need to have a good hard long look at it and look at ways about making sure that MPs are behaving in an appropriate way at all times.
You would have heard, just as you were coming into the studio, the comments from Concetta Fierravanti-Wells, your Liberal colleague, on the issue of an integrity commission, saying that this needs to be dealt with. Mark Dreyfus was saying it's farcical that the government is saying it won't introduce the legislation because Labor does not support it. That's not how Parliament works.
Well, it won't go anywhere, so we're not going to introduce something that's going to
Is it worth
fail.
even having the debate, though?
Well, the Dr Haynes bill that was proposed last week has none of the provisions in it that would give protection to journalists, that would avoid people being able to make politically malicious and untrue claims, and would waste resources in investigations. I'm from New South Wales. The ICAC situation that we have in New South Wales is absolutely appalling. It is appalling. It is guilt by association. It is guilt by having them do an inquiry into you, and these sort of bodies shouldn't be used in that way. There are protections in this bill. Labor doesn't even have a proposal, so they don't want to support ours. But so, Josh, if you know something more, Labor does not even have a proposal.
Right of reply, Josh.
Thank you, Matt. I mean, it shows a lot about the government's courage of their own conviction that they are unwilling to even introduce a bill. They are the government. Any of this sort of excuses to say that it's somehow our fault that the Prime Minister hasn't introduced a bill into the Parliament is frankly absurd. It is absurd.
So why won't you support our bill? You don't even have one. Why won't you support our bill?
I'll let me finish my answer, and So it is ridiculous, right? If the government wants to introduce a bill, then they should do so. Some of the things that we think should be in any anti-corruption commission are things like the ability to investigate their own matter, not just matters referred to by the government, because obviously the government is going to be limited in the sort of things that it would refer. It needs to be able to act with retrospectivity, to be able to look into the past and look at issues that have happened previously. It needs to be able to investigate things that it wishes to. All of these three key aspects are things that are missing from the government. So I think that if the government doesn't want to introduce a bill, that's a reflection on them. We have our own set of policies that we would introduce in government, but clearly the only reason why there's no anti-corruption commission is because the government isn't introducing one.
Well, we are the government. We do get to introduce bills when we determine to introduce bills. That's the way it works.
Okay. Well, very, very briefly, because we do have to let you both go to question time in just a second. You guys come on this program very regularly, and we thank you both for it. How would you sum up the year that's been 2021?
So I actually was on this show on the very last day of the last sitting week last year, and we were all saying, thank goodness 2020 is over. And little do we know it was just going to keep on coming with the hits in 2021. It's got to end. And the fact we're at such a high level of vaccination rates, this country has to open up. We have to go back to living with normal life with COVID and really start to get back to normal. I mean, we know this building, we've just been talking about the culture in here. It's been like a ghost town. So I'm really hopeful next year life starts to resemble a little more like 2019.
A brief show of unity there, Josh?
It's been a really difficult year for Australians. It's been a really difficult year for the economy, for businesses, and I think Australians have done an amazing job of getting vaccinated. But I am frankly, Matt, excited about the prospect of imagining a better future for this country, and I'm excited about the fact that we can compete in the next election and potentially change the future and shape that future and get rid of this rotten government.
Sounds like you're campaigning already.
Yeah,
Josh Burns, Hollie Hughes. Thank you both for joining us today on
Happy
Capitol Hill.
Christmas, Matt.
Merry Christmas.